About the year 2020, I ended up relocating from London after a blow up happened in my job, and I ended up right here in Malta, where I relocated for another job very quickly. And in that time, I was recovering from burnout, depression, anxiety, PTSD, heartbreak, like all at the same time. And this was my place of healing, I suppose. And I basically have been on a very long journey of self-healing and self-discovery in that time. And it's now 2024 at the time of filming this. So 4 years of self-development, personal development, inner work, shadow work, inner child work, body somatic work, meditation, all the stuff to get myself back to my true self, really. And what I didn't realize was how much I had been influenced by my environment and the people, particularly people I was raised by and had surrounded myself with all of those years growing up, and how different I actually am now. And before, I used to be this like super high achiever, like go mentality, 100 miles an hour. And I realized that I got that from my mother, who's very restless and very high achiever mentality. And that, although obviously achieving things is great, actually isn't really my natural state of being. Like my actual natural state of being, now that I've come out of that whole experience, is actually pretty chilled. Like I enjoy time in nature. I enjoy going for long walks. I enjoy spending time with my dog. I enjoy the simple life. I enjoy minimalism. I enjoy spending some quality time with my family and friends. I enjoy community. And like the environment that I was in London was just not for me. Like I have realized the more I've been going down this self-healing, self-discovery journey, that I was so out of resonance in that city. Every time I come back now, especially as my energy changes over time, it's just, I'm vibrating out of it more and more and more. And so what I found was when I was traveling, because I was doing a lot of solo traveling around the world, particularly in Southeast Asia. And that location for me, I get sunlight, it's super cheap. There's like a community of nomads and expats and entrepreneurs from all over the world, and that diversity and the friendliness and just the community that I get over there has just been completely eye-opening. And now I'm in this place where I am officially moving out, like moving to live starting in Thailand, but to be out there for much longer periods of time, and to only come back to the UK for kind of short stints to see my family and friends. And that is a decision that I've just had to make over time, and has been something that I've been battling with over the last few years, because obviously I love my family, I love my friends, but when I'm in a location where I'm no longer happy, the cold isn't for me, I just get miserable, I'm in pain, like all of those things, there comes a point where you just have to make that decision to do what makes you happy. And although I was living, with my parents when I wasn't traveling, like you can't live with your parents for the rest of your life. Like you got to go out and spread your wings and live your own life, right? And so I'm going to make that big move, and this is a big step. But I've been to Bali twice this year for a month each time. And it was to test out the co-working, co-living kind of experience out there. And I really loved it. Like every time I go to Bali and I'm in like co-working, even if I'm just staying in a hostel, but it's a really nice hostel. So co-working spaces where I'm around like-minded community, young people, vibrant, sunny, it's warm. And I just don't want to leave by the end of those 30 days. But when I'm in London, like I dread going back, let alone being there and staying there for long periods of time. So it's a great city, it's not that, it's just to live in it for me personally just not my environment, and that's okay, but it's the place that I was born and the place that I grew up in. And so sometimes it's really challenging to make that decision to move and relocate and live your own life that's separate to your family. And it's interesting because my mum had a similar experience, because she's born somewhere else and basically decided to come to London, and that meant leaving her friends and family behind as well. And sometimes if you're called to be somewhere else, you're called to be somewhere else. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I also have a lot of challenges in life, so particularly with my health. I have been through cancer as a teenager. Again, like I mentioned, I went through the whole depression, burnout, anxiety. It was very much of a spiritual awakening, for sure. Very much more, a lot more spiritually aware than I ever was before. I wasn't really aware of any of that, and now I have the vocabulary and the experiences that align very much with a spiritual awakening, especially with all the spiritual shamanic retreats I've been on along the way to get me down to the depth of shadow work and all of that. But it's interesting because I don't know where the future is taking me. Like, I don't know where this path is going. All I know is that I'm following the things that make me come alive, you know? And that for me is like so important, because you can find yourself in complete misery just because you're simply not in the right environment or around the right people. And for me, like, the best antidepressant is good social connections. Like, not being around people that, you know, just kind of make you miserable, or like you don't particularly enjoy being around. They're just there. Just because people are there doesn't mean you've got good social connections. And so good social connections for me are people who make you laugh, who make you feel good about yourself, or who bring out the best in you, or make you feel expansive, or you learn something new from them. Like, those are the kind of connections that just make me feel alive. And there's like people I could talk to for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And there's people that I just like, you just struggle with, or you just mentally just not connecting with at all. And sometimes those people can be people you've known for a really long time. And that can be really challenging, because especially like, you know, friends from school that you've known for a really long time. And you know, you love your friends, right? But sometimes if they're no longer expanding you, or it's got to the point where you feel like your energy's shrinking, then you need to make new friends. Like, you need to just expand your horizons. And, you know, I'm finding myself in that situation, and I've met so many people who are a lot more like-minded and that I really, really enjoy being around. Doesn't mean I'm gonna, like, you know, drop all my friends from before, but like, you kind of have to manage your time and your energy to make sure that you can remain in a place of expansiveness, you know? So, yeah. I'm also in a situation with my health where I am experiencing, how should I call it? Let's say a genetic mutation that puts me at a high risk of neurodegeneration fairly early in life, so like midlife usually is the case. And so that also influences how I make my decisions about my work, about my relationships in particular, and how I want to live my life. And so when it comes to relationships, that was the hardest thing. So I got tested to find out whether I had this gene, because I'm now in my 30s, and it's that time to figure out whether I want to settle down and get married and have kids and start a family and all that kind of stuff, because obviously body clocks come into play. However, when I got tested, it wasn't good news. And so now it's a case of probably won't be having children, because one, I'm a little bit old, and two, not old, but like, if I wasn't gonna degenerate over time, then it's fine to have kids at this age, obviously. But given that the progressive nature of this Mutation means that I may not be well enough to look after them in their like teenage years and that kind of thing. And I think that's really traumatic. My cousins went through this experience where their mums kind of fell ill with this very unfortunate disease. And it was very traumatic for them, to be honest, and I don't want to have kids and put them through that and put them at risk of having it as well. So for me, it's more about how do I navigate relationships, because I don't want to rule out relationships entirely because of this, because right now I'm fine. Like right now I'm well, everything's fine, I'm taking care of my health. But obviously for future planning, it becomes a bit trickier because there's plenty of people men in particular, who don't want children. That doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be with someone who they will need to care for eventually. So that adds the additional layer of complexity, and navigating that can be quite challenging. And so I found this happy medium where for a while I didn't know how to navigate that. Like it was a bit upsetting, actually. I think that was the most upsetting thing about the whole news that I got. But I realised I don't like hookups, and so that's not really a solution for me. And if marriage and kids isn't the route I'm going to go down, I actually discovered on my travels that there are a fraction of men who they either don't want kids, which is fine, or they want marriage and kids, but they're nowhere near ready to have them yet. And so they might not be, so some of them will just go to hookups, which is fine, that's their thing. But they'll turn away people who want marriage and kids like soon. But there's like an in-between group who might want marriage and kids, but they're not ready yet, but they still want to experience like relationships and committed relationships, even, you know, for a short period of time, couple of years, few months, like however long it lasts. Some people call them vacation ships. So they're basically in a relationship for the duration of a few months of a travel thing, and obviously part ways if they're going in different locations after that, or going back home, or whatever it is. So I think that's the avenue I may have to fit myself into for the time being, and take it from there, really, without ruling it out entirely, because I know it's not fair, and I wouldn't expect or want anybody to commit to someone with the condition that is likely to develop down the line. So that's where I'm at. And I think I'm getting close to attracting someone in that space without it compromising his life, and in a way that we can enjoy experiences together. But yeah, I also get really nervous around people I like. I don't know if you get that too, but to the point where I get so nervous, you know, when you're just like tense and awkward and nervous, that it kind of throws things off. And so this last trip that I had in Bali, I was actually around somebody I liked, so I was getting very nervous. But I kept telling myself, like, just breathe into it and relax, because whenever I'm tense and nervous, it just like nothing happens, right? Because you're so tense and nervous, you're blocking any flow of energy, right? And so it's almost like so pointless to like someone and be nervous about it, just because the likelihood of it being like it working out when you're tense and nervous is so low. And in my experiences, like I remember growing up, I never ended up with people that I actually liked, because I was so nervous and shy and awkward that it would just never transpire into anything. And so this time round, I'm like, okay, just breathe and relax. And every time I breathe like into my belly and just tell my body to completely relax into it, like you just enjoy your experience a lot more. And actually when you relax, they relax. And obviously when you're nervous, they're nervous. So it kind of the energy plays off on each other. So that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment in terms of like personal growth, personal development, and relationships in particular, because since the last like 4 years, I haven't actually been in one, because I don't know, I was traveling solo, moving around a lot. I was going through that self-healing, self-discovery journey. It wasn't really something I was prioritizing. But now I feel I feel healed, I know myself. I feel very ready to explore a relationship. So yeah, a light-hearted one will be nice. Nothing too heavy, but not hook up. Sorry. I'll explain why maybe another day. But yeah, that's me for now. I'm just gonna switch up because I'm just rambling.